Welcome back to Explain America. This is your host, Kyle Becker. Well, that didn't last long. Disney has already caved, and it has made its decision to bring Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. This follows just days after his reckless and dangerous comments spreading disinformation to frame MAGA supporters as responsible in some way for Charlie Kirk's assassination. But there's been blowback on this front, and it is already more than Disney has bargained for. They are instantly regretting bringing Kimmel back on the air. But before we get back into this story, please like, share, and comment at Explain America. We appreciate your support for common sense journalism. Now, Jimmy Kimmel has made somewhat of a living mocking conservatives and propping up Democrats for as long as we can remember. His show for a decade has been bleeding ratings, and advertisers have displayed that they don't like his show. So there are a lot of business reasons for pulling Jimmy Kimmel off the air, but apparently that doesn't matter to Disney. They are putting him back on the air, and they released a statement not admitting that Kimmel was intentionally promoting disinformation for malicious and vicious reasons, thereby propping up radical assassins and putting conservatives who support Donald Trump in harm's way. No, they didn't make it that clear, although that would have been a bit of truth-telling for Disney. No, they called his comments ill-timed and thus insensitive. No, what is insensitive is the reaction to Charlie Kirk being assassinated in cold blood and thousands of gleeful left-wingers taking to social media in order to pour vitriol and hatred on Charlie Kirk's memory for the inexcusable crime of disagreeing with them civilly and rationally on college campuses. No, they couldn't do that, but Jimmy Kimmel, he fed their ignorance and their hatred and their political violence by covering for the radical assassins that we knew by the time of airtime that were responsible for his death, in the sense that Tyler Robinson subscribed to their views. He was engaged in radical chat forums on Discord. We knew all this information when Jimmy Kimmel's news hit. Therefore, it is disinformation, it was purposeful, it was malicious, and it was intended to malign Trump supporters at a time where they were literally getting killed for their political beliefs. So Jimmy Kimmel went far beyond just smearing Trump supporters. He was putting their lives at risk. And thus, it is not a free speech issue. When you're on the air, you cannot make this willful, dangerous, reckless claims that incite political violence. So Disney needs to get its story straight. But there's already been some fallout about this. Sinclair Group is reportedly, according to Monday evening's reports via Fox News, etc., they are sticking with their suspension of Jimmy Kimmel. They were going to air news instead. This is 38 major markets. And like we said, if the entire idea of putting Jimmy Kimmel back on the air was to get ratings, well, that's going to fail spectacularly. It's not going to pan out because Sinclair Group and potentially Nexstar, if they stick with their guns, so to speak, if they stay with keeping him off the air, then they're going to be hurt even further. So his ratings disaster is already going to be multiplied, and Disney's going to just lose more revenue. I think that there might be a little bit of curiosity factor for a day or two when he comes back. But, I looked at his guest lineup, just a bunch of Democrats and left-wing celebrities as usual. He's only had one right-leaning guest in 3 years, according to the New York Post, and that came with preconditions about not talking about the political ideology. So Jimmy Kimmel is knowingly pushing radical extremist ideology on his show. Apparently that's what late night comedy has come to be. So that's my opinion, and we hope that you have your own thoughts about this. I'm sure you're probably not in exact agreement, but that you can have your own opinions in a free society, and that's what we want to have as long as people aren't inciting political violence. So thank you for watching Explain America.